Good morning. My name is Tom Cross, and we're taking today to talk about critical concepts in crisis management communications, the top 10 ideas we've come up with for the last year or so and 10 years doing research in this topic and many more years being involved with this area. It's a very complex issue, so if you have any questions, please email them to me directly at gocross.com, or you're welcome to call me at 303-594-1694. There's more information at the end, so we're going to move right along. However, we do have a brand new course called Enterprise Sales Acceleration. It's part of a professional business-to-business development program, so if you're interested in that, let us know, because we find that's a very interesting topic. A few road rules here. My job is to speak, your job is to listen. If you get done before me, you're free to go out to play. Or look at another way, you can read 5 times faster than I can speak, and I'm certainly counting on that. So we're going to go through these things. Here's a few of our seminar evaluations should you want to do this in-house or via webinar. We'd like to find that this is really helpful. There's just so many companies out there who do it so badly. And we just think it's just a good investment to make sure that your crisis communications is kind of tweaked up or tuned up or ready to go. So I think that after that one last comment, after Boeing, every CMO should be get this for their company. We find that kind of important because stuff's going to happen out there. And the key point that nearly everybody does it badly or not at all. I think if you've just seen what's going on with Boeing, there's still no clear indication as to when the plane will fly again, the 737 MAX. Here are the top 10 concepts we're going to go through: communications, context, contact, collaboration, connections, consistency, channels, compliance, synchronicity, and customers. So what we find out there is that's what's going to happen is just people just, put their head down and put their head in the sand and pretend that all this is going to go away, because it's not going to go away. And if you need more experience in that, how about taking a field trip to Washington, D.C. and explain all this stuff, what's going on in politics, to your friends out there. So crisis management communications hits deep, it hits wide, hits global, it hits on all kinds of issues, so you should be prepared for a lot of things. But basically it starts with listening. Global issues, emerging trends, industry outlook, events and speaking, competitive insights, and modest social media. We'll talk more about that in a moment. But here's just some examples. I just can't keep up with all the news and all the crises that keep going on out there. You just can't imagine. And what happens is that these companies just kind of pretend it's going to go away. Well, what happens is it may go away, but it's still going to be remembered by the people that they didn't go away with. So you kind of keep this in mind, that you can put your head in the sand or pretend it's going to go away, but it's still going to be there. We do another webinar on artificial intelligence and find that more than half of the projects on AI have failed. That means that the other 50% are failing. You just don't want to report them as such. We also like to think that, you've got to be prepared for all kinds of things. Here's a news story today that how an IBM social engineer hacked 2 CBS reporters and then revealed the tricks behind her phishing and spoofing attacks. It just gets deeper and deeper in this whole process, and I don't think I need to go on and on about these kinds of things, but you do need to have part of this process is listening to what else is going on, what other people are doing or not doing, as the case may be, and be prepared for having a response for that. So first thing is that context is build a heat map or a spaghetti weather map for competitors, startups, industry trends, global issues, even the weather that could impact your business. So these kind of heat maps are very helpful and useful. They can take a while, but on the other hand, when stuff happens, you need to have a quick reaction to what is going on out there. And whether you like these styles or build your own, have some, and whatever you're tracking, whether it be customers, competitors, channels, whatever it is out there, make sure that you're ready to go when this takes place. There's all kinds of interesting new heat maps that are coming out there. This one one's from CB Insights. I do like their research, so if you're interested in tracking them, I would think you'd sign up for their services as well to get their insights for your own heat map, not just their heat map. I don't think that you can just outsource this to some research company because they don't understand what's going on inside your company. More context, political events, war, Brexit, government, technology, random global warming. This is not a drill. You've got to keep up with this all the time. You kind of have to keep track of all the different things that are going on out there. For example, yes, robots will happen. I just think that we're going to be not prepared for weaponized robots, because people are going to use robots in the worst possible way. So, and if you don't understand that, people have predicted the growth of cars. We've all suffered through traffic jams, et cetera. But seriously, I have not ever seen any great projections about road rage, which is certainly a major issue out there. Also, in a completely different way, that over 6,000 pedestrians are going to get killed this year by probably texting on their cell phones. So I don't know that's the way you want to die, but you need to be prepared for all these kinds of things. On a positive note, quantum computing is happening much faster than I think people predicted. You can go to IBM right now and start programming on a quantum computer. Privacy is one of those crazy issues that we like to have some control over, or think we have some control over. I think you're going to have to move so far away that you will never be on the grid anywhere. I also think that there's going to be more types of environmental attacks, whether it be global warming, if you're listening to this or seeing this, who knows what your weather is today. We've had record high and record low here in Colorado. I've seen it record high and record low almost everywhere else. I also think that there's going to be major viruses. They talk about the fact is that certain, whether it be antibiotics and certain things, 30,000 people are going to die this year from that, 50,000 from the flu, etc. So be prepared for all kinds of things. The most interesting impact of crisis communications that people don't realize is the new social CEO. CEOs report spending 50% of their time articulating, defending themselves and the company on public policy issues. So the CEO is not hidden away. You never see them anymore. They're really out front. They're the front man for your company. So you need to be prepared for that. It's sad that, these people are now being called before Congress all the time. So whether it's a subpoena before Congress or, 60 Minutes wants to interview you, you need to be prepared for it now before it happens. Because if you're waiting that too long, the train is already derailed, and all you're doing is trying to recover from this disaster out there. Research and analyze your own company internal and external content messaging. I think that's important. People, they always look across the river saying, okay, they're doing this, da-da-da. Look internal what's going on, because your own corporate gossip could add or detract from your own transparency, because those things impact your culture, and that has an impact on your public image and public policy issues. Have a content crisis curator, in the sense that that person is always looking for things that go on out there. I think the Brexit issue is going to go on forever. The Boeing thing is going to go on forever. These impact maybe not just Boeing, but Boeing's part suppliers. We'll talk about more of that in a minute. Brexit is going to go on because there's just going to divide the country forever. Talk to real people. Go out and get the person on the street view of what's going on out there. Expand your industry groups. Get involved in there. Expand your networking, thought leadership, influencer communications. Can't speak too highly enough of how influencers in the business world can influence and help you regain your reputation out there. So, gain new friends out there. Be prepared for a crisis culture. What is it? Somebody's going to do a story on you. Assume that whether it's internal, external, you're on the news front. And it's just that you don't want to be the top of the news. You like to be back of the news. Realize your own management, is the most significant cause for crisis management. Dennis Muhlenberg, CEO of Boeing, did not fly to the crash. He waited almost a year to respond to the issue of the sad deaths of those passengers. So you can't wait a year, you fly to the crash. I learned that 30 years ago. I think it's still viable to today. So, make sure that keeps up with kinds of things. Understand that there's spies and espionage going on out there in your business. Here's a great book to read if you just want to set the stage for how long it's been going on. Consistency is really where you kind of work through all these things here: sincerity, reliability, commitment, integrity, competence, consistency, to build trust. Because you just cannot continue to do that enough out there. Your demographics are changing, people are changing, your business is changing, your customers are changing. So make sure that you're really, involved with all kinds of things. You cannot predict competitive hack attacks either in M&A, advances in tech, or anything else, nor react to them. You can only direct your customers to your content and thought leadership. If you're waiting afterwards to respond to the crisis, someone else has already taken control of the message and the media. People are looking to those people as the people who are responding, not you. You're too late to the game out there. Also, make sure that you're involved in all kinds of channels that exist out there. Make sure that, the thing is that everybody thinks, well, we'll just do this one kind of media. No, it's not. You're more involved in all kinds of things. People think this is easy. Well, no, it's not easy. This is really hard work, but if you do it right, you have a better chance of it having less of a negative impact on your stock price, your customers, and your own internal company. It's just, you've got to be doing it before, not afterwards. It's just too late. Remember, the majority of cyber attacks come from disgruntled or dishonest employees, so the likelihood of crisis coming from within is very high. So make sure that you have a whistleblower program. Make sure that, again, part of the question of the Boeing thing was that the people who did the quality control reported the people in charge of selling the plane. You need an outside view of what's going on out there, and make sure that you reward those people. Social media is, by definition, social, a people contact sport. So make sure that anyone can speak on your behalf or not on your behalf out there. I like to think if you start by deleting all your social media accounts and building your own ultra separate internal and external social networks instead of the ones that exist out there. I think that you just see the changing road rules on Twitter, Facebook, etc., as an indication of they don't know what's going on out there. They cannot manage their own platforms out there. So you need to build your own. And I think it doesn't mean you can't have social influencers. You get social influencers to help you build your business, your own social media platform out there. Start there. Why wait for other people to direct your media? Have your own messaging team ready to go. Make sure that your influencers follow FCC guidelines and others that exist out there. All right, so as we kind of move along here, within your own 7x24 Ultra management team. So you got the application, you got your own platform, you got to have a team that does that responds to it. I think there's just ways that you can do that very easily. It doesn't cost a fortune, but it could cost you a fortune if you don't do it. This is like an insurance policy. If you're not doing this stuff now, then you're not going to be ready, and you might as well just plan to go out of business. Here's a simple tip to take away. If you do nothing else, build a separate, non-public website that's ready to go, that addresses these issues. It's not too hard to do that. You get your web development team, put a few hours into, some content, things like that. Make sure you know who to contact, make sure it works, right? But then, if a crisis does happen, you can make that go live, and you can push that out to via your own social media and to other press channels, etc. What we find out there is that the reason why traditional media, has all these positions is because no one is talking. They are the ones doing the talking. Compliance is really key to this process. So if you're if you're an SEC, if you're a public company, etc., if you've got regulatory issues, privacy issues, GDPR, etc., make sure that you've got a whole process for that. We built one for one company. We call it the Crisis Compliance Lifecycle Management Process. Do it if you want, don't do it if you want, but, these are the issues. You have the authors, the content creators, the people who putting out messaging. The actualizers was the best term we could find to cover anyone who touched the data. Someone who received it, viewed it, changed it, modified it, etc., used it in the database, put it on the website, etc. The last two are really kind of key, too. You have auditors who basically check in on how the actualizers are using the content. So again, you've got these kinds of issues, not too hard. And then the analyzer is basically an audit-to-auditor process. We do not trust anyone who is not involved in this process. So, make sure that you have an outside view of this to make sure that your insides and all the rest of the stuff is going well, and test it. I mean, I don't know why people can't get our arms around testing their own crisis. Maybe it doesn't have to be a major crisis out there, but just test how the system would work. Synchronicity is a term that we kind of came up with because we couldn't think of anything else to use, because it's just all those kind of random things that exist out there, those random processes that you're going to go, what the heck happened here? But, it takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. If you think about that, you will do things differently. Warren Buffett, I think that's wise guidance for you. Otherwise, you're going to fail and fail badly. It's not too hard to do these kinds of things. The last thing, customers, make sure that you have a means to communicate with your customers immediately and often during this whole process. You could do a daily newsletter just for your major customers out there. Make sure that they're well in tune with what's going on out there. When asked, people say the 737 is going to fly in February, now March. Now no one really knows. The latest news out there, etc. And basically, when they view passengers and part suppliers, they ask people and other people if they want to fly on the 737 MAX. There's a lot of uncertainty. So they may have to basically do that plane all over, because if you're GE and anybody else who's losing billions of dollars on the 737 MAX grounding, it's not going to go away. So, and it's also, in this case, since they screwed that up, there are other planes out there in the 737 model, and probably others, that are going to be, total scrutiny. So it basically opens up, in scrutiny to the entire company, not just the one plane. So again, this reflects that any kind of crisis will kill the bottom line. You just cannot rely upon a lack of response to recover from, to build your business again. I call it the RGE factor, resume, generate an event. It's because people are not going to buy something to lose their job, or in some cases, their customers' lives out there. So I don't know how Boeing recovers from that. I just, it's maybe impossible. People want content. They want, they want to keep in touch with what you're going on out there. And so you create this, what I call thumb-stopping content that, keeps people informed of what's going on and responding to people's concerns out there. Again, you can gather that information from other platforms, but then use your own platform to push it back out. Fred said that on one platform. Here's our response. So again, you're directing your viewers to your own platform out there. Get your own social influencers to help you with that process out there, because it's going to go on and going on for a long time. It does work. Do your own assessment. Begin an ultra crisis intelligence system. It's an art, not a science. It takes time. Develop ultra crisis analytics, including internal and competitors. We do another one on competitive analysis, because there's spies, saboteurs out there coming after you. So you can't wait till it happens. You iterate. You keep building until you get it done. It works out there. Here again, the top 10 critical concepts that we covered today: communications, contact, collaboration, connections, consistency, channels, compliance, synchronicity, and customers. I would like to thank you for spending some time with me today. Here's a little bit of our references and our background from one of the great thought leaders in the industry, Evan Kirstel. Another one from my great colleague who works at Gartner, Roger Tonis. We also do other kinds of things, like I said, our Enterprise Sales Acceleration course, which is getting good traction out there to help direct and channel partners, gain traction to move up market. We find that many customers, many providers out there really are focused in on one kind of customer out there, and they need to change that customer model, because that kind of profit and that margin has basically been evaporated. So you have to be constantly moving and finding new customers, but also building them up. I mean, the larger customers typically stick with you a little bit longer. We have a new executive seminar on building artificial intelligence, business validation, and leadership professional certification. This is another webinar we do. I think it's really important, as I pointed out, that 50% of all AI projects have failed and will continue to fail badly, and just delay the whole process because they're doing it all wrong. Here's one we do on this, what I call a competitive intelligence agency. This is the spies and saboteurs webinar. It's kind of fun to talk about things like that. We do ones, building strategic customer assessments. That's actually getting out in front of the customer out there. That's so much fun, because again, you're listening to what they're hearing out there, and if you listen well, they have concerns out there. They have concerns that you may not be, they're not going to tell you unless you go out and talk to them. They're not going to respond to some gizmo survey out there, because you're not asking the right questions. You're asking the questions you think you want answers to, rather than listening to what they have to say. The last one there is on digital meetings, because we find that people do a terrible job in doing their meetings. And I'd like to thank you today. We've spent 20 minutes, and I hope all the best to you and whatever you do. And all have a great day. Cheers. Bye.